All right, so I was working on this elimination problem in the last video, so I'm going to finish it up. What I was doing was just writing the equations, and then I started talking about what elimination meant. So with elimination, you want something to cancel out. The way that a variable and a coefficient cancel out is when they're opposites. So I either want to make this s a negative 20, or I can make this h a negative 15. So I'm just going to multiply by 20. That's easier than multiplying by 15 because I can do it in my head. So I'm going to take this entire equation and multiply it by negative 20. So that gives me negative 20s, negative 20h. And then if I double 96 and add a 0, that's basically multiplying by 20. So doubling 96 is 192. And then I have to add a 0. Let me just check that before we do all this work and just, make sure. So I have negative 20 times 96. It's Monday when I'm making this video, so I'm just making sure. Yeah, negative 1920. Okay, so if I get rid of this for a second, I'm going to add these two equations together. 20s plus negative 20s cancels out, eliminates. 15h plus negative 20h is negative 5h. And then I'm going to use my calculator for this. 1,665 minus 1920, negative 225. No, not 225, 255. And then divide by negative 5 to get my h. Divided by negative 5. Can't even read it. 51? Okay. Okay, so that says we sold 51 hats. So let's look at the rest of the problem. So if we had 51 hats, there was a total of 96 items. So then S plus H is 96. But H is 51. So 96 minus 51 is 45. So let's make sure all this adds up. Let's go to my calculator. Let me erase this stuff over here so I can actually see. Okay. So we have 20 of the shirts. So, oh no. How many of each is that? 20 of the $20 for the shirts, and we sold 45 of them. $20 for the shirts, we sold 45, plus 15 for the hats, and we sold 51 of them. This should equal 1665. And it does. And then shirts plus hats should equal 96. And it does. All right. Simplify each expression. So combining like terms up here, x plus x is 2x. They each have a 1 in front. All right. I'm going to look at everything that has an x. I'm going to combine those. 6x minus 4x is 2x. I'm going to look at everything with a y. I'm going to combine those. 3y and 10y. There isn't any other constant, so nothing that I can do with my minus 4. I'm going to combine up inside my parentheses first here, kind of the same way that I was doing. So I have 4x minus 5x is negative 1x. And I need to subtract everything that's in this parenthesis. I need to subtract it. So I have negative x plus 7, and then I'm subtracting negative 2x, which is really adding x. Negative, negative is a positive. And then I have minus 3. So combining like terms, negative x plus 2x is just x, and 7 minus 3 is 4. Okay, getting into my exponents. So when I have an exponential expression, I want to take all the coefficients and just multiply and divide them like a normal problem. So 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6. With my exponents, t to the third power really means 3 t's. T to the second power means 2 t's. So adding those together, I have 5. I have 4 in the denominator. So again, if I have these 5 in the numerator, and then I have 4 in the denominator, cancel, 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 cancel. I'm left with 1 t in the numerator. Dividing my coefficients, 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I actually don't need that line. I don't have a denominator. Anything to the 0 power is 1, but only that parenthesis. So this whole thing is 1. So I'm just left with a negative 5. Now this bottom denominator, the whole thing is cubed. So that means I have 2c to the third, 2c to the third, 2c to the third. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. C to the third, c to the third, c to the third is c to the ninth. 5 and 8 do not have any common factors. That fraction does not reduce, so I just leave it negative 5 over 8. Okay, and last exponent problem, I have 25 divided by 5 is 5. When I have a negative exponent in the numerator, I move it to the denominator and make it positive. And when I have a negative exponent in the denominator, I move it up to the numerator and make it positive. So this becomes 5g to the fifth, adding those exponents, divided by f to the third. G and f are different variables, so I cannot simplify that anymore. Okay, graph the exponential equation and answer the questions. Okay, so I am going to make a table. I'm going to plug in negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Just like to have some negatives, some positives, and definitely 0. Okay, so I have 1 half in parentheses 3, and my power is x. So I'm going to put my negative 2, and I've got to move over a little bit. I don't want to be in the power anymore, and I have plus 1. So I'm basically just taking this equation, and instead of x, I'm putting negative 2. Be nice if I could see the answer. Okay, 19 over 18. So that's a little bit bigger than 1. So negative 2, a little bit bigger than 1. Okay, I'm going to type the same thing again, except instead of the negative 2, I'm going to put a negative 1. I'm just going to press up on enter so I don't have to do it all again. And I'm just going to change that to a negative 1. 7 over 6. Again, a little bit bigger than 1. Okay, do this again. Change that negative 1 to a 0. 3 over 2. Well, that's 1.5. So there. Okay, one more time, or no, 2 more times. Bringing that to a 1. 5 over 2, which is 2.5. So 1, 2.5. And one last time, making that a 2. 11 over 2, which is, 5.5. 2